Walking with Dinosaurs is one of the most influential shows that changed the course of dinosaur documentaries, and now after over 20 years we are finally getting a modern follow-up to that show. And recently a new trailer has come out and reactions are definitely a bit mixed. Obviously because of the prehistoric planet comparisons, but as everyone has already said, we may have been a little too spoiled by Prehistoric Planet. I mean, it was kinda predicted that it won't exactly have that kind of high quality. But besides that, the trailer was not bad. It was fairly decent, though it didn't quite make me mega hyped for it. I'm still looking forward, but though I do have my hopes for it, I do have my concerns and even some criticisms. Of course, it's a bit unfair for me to judge something that hasn't even come out yet, and just now released a fairly short trailer, but there's something about it that really just doesn't quite feel like it's a successor to Walking with Dinosaurs for me. And it took me a bit of a while to figure that out, but I think I know what the reason is, or two. And no, it's not necessarily because of the quality of the animation, or that the original narrator or music composer won't be returning. But before we get to my main point, or points, I do want to talk about some other things about the show as well. For the narration, it is indeed a bummer that Kenneth Branagh won't be returning, though I did kinda predicted that a while ago. And from what I've heard, the next narrator will be Bertie Carvel, which was quite unexpected. I never heard of the guy, but I have watched some of his stuff and he does seem to have a pretty good voice for this documentary, so I do have high hopes that he will do a good job narrating. The next thing I want to talk about is one of my main critiques I had about the show ever since it was announced last year, and that is the lack of Mesozoic variety and lack of the original pattern for the episodes. Like, only one episode is about the Jurassic, but then the rest of the episodes is just in the Cretaceous, and 3 or 4 out of 6 of them are in North America. And all of them are just about dinosaurs, not really anything else in the Mesozoic. The original Walking with Dinosaurs was a journey from the earliest to the last days of the dinosaurs in the Mesozoic. And over these eras, we see plenty of variety and even focus on other things than just dinosaurs. And after that, that has been the pattern for the other shows in their chronological episodes, which is one of the things that gave the Walking with trilogy its identity. And it overall makes it a very fun series, going through each time period, seeing all that variety of creatures that rarely get any representation in media, like marine reptiles, pterosaurs, arctic dinosaurs, and creatures from the Triassic. It was a journey through time, not just about the dinosaurs within just one of many eras. I know it wants to do the same thing Ballad of Big Al did, but that was a 1 or 2 episode special, not really a 6 episode show under the same title. So that already is a bit of a letdown for me personally. I know shows don't always need to do every single thing the original did, but for something that is supposed to be a modern take on an older BBC documentary under the same title, I am at least expecting to keep that same formula. It just wouldn't exactly feel like it's supposed to be its successor. BBC documentary sequels like Planet Earth and Blue Planet did that. They still keep the original formula but gave it a new and modern take. The next thing we talk about is one that pretty much everyone has talked about, and that is the animation. If we put the Prehistoric Planet comparisons aside, the animation looks alright. It doesn't look as amazing as I've hoped, but certainly better than I was concerned about. There are scenes that either look pretty good or feel a bit off, but overall the animation is serviceable. There also doesn't seem to be any sign of practical effects, but who knows, maybe there will. But hey, besides of how it looks or that it doesn't follow the same pattern from the original, hopefully the episodes and stories will be good and investing and make dinosaurs at least feel real. But that's where my main point comes in, as to why this doesn't exactly feel like a Walking with Dinosaurs show for me. And that is the lack of immersion, where it feels like a film crew really went back in time filming these extinct animals how they would usually film our modern ones, which makes it feel that much more convincing, which is what gave the Walking with trilogy its charm and identity. And when watching the trailer, I don't really seem to feel any of that here. Like, let's take that one scene where the Quetzalcoatlus or some kind of Adstarkid is flying over the herd of Pachyrhinosaurs as an example. Which frankly it is a good scene, but let's look back on the way the original Walking with Dinosaur usually films pterosaurs. The way pterosaurs are filmed are how people usually film modern birds. Usually off from a good distance, not to disturb them, while trying to have a good focus on them when they fly. Yet there also are some subtleties like camera shaking when trying to focus on one of them when closing up. That while seeing the animals steadily glide through the wind current, which makes these scenes feel more convincing, like they are actually filming these animals. Prehistoric Planet did that as well, especially with the Barbarodactyl scenes, which are amazing and very convincing. But here there's a grand scenery with a quick close-up of a pterosaur soaring away very dramatically. It's a good scene, but it does feel a lot more intentional and cinematic. Like, that's not really how documentaries film animals like birds. You would usually see those things in like movies or other dinosaur documentaries, but not really in a BBC documentary, including Walking with Dinosaurs, which tries to capture that sort of feel of other real-life documentaries. I can even bring up other comparisons, like how Walking with Dinosaurs and Prehistoric Planet film dromaeosaurs hunting from far away, just like how they film wolves hunting in documentaries. But here there are weird close-ups and angles where you would usually never put a camera on. There are quite a few other scenes in the trailer that also have that same thing, with very intentional cinematic angles and shots in places where a person wouldn't really film an animal from, not even put a camera on there. I'm not gonna pretend like the Walking with trilogy doesn't have that, cause they do have some, but most of those shots are very few in between, and they are still filmed in a very immersive way. Overall, it just feels like it's shot like a regular dinosaur documentary, not really like a BBC documentary like Walking with Dinosaurs. This is something Prehistoric Planet did well, and that doesn't always have to do with budget reasons for convincing animation. It just doesn't quite feel like it is really challenging the aspect of filmography and immersion like the original did. Something that I feel like Prehistoric Planet and even Surviving Earth is doing, which I honestly consider to be a better potential successor to Walking with Dinosaurs, considering how much effort is going into. Though to be fair, it is made by the same old team and I think even the same old producer who worked on the original. Also, I want to note that from what I've heard, the episodes will also have educational bits of showing the paleontology, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. In the end of the day, education is the most important thing to a documentary, but that also kind of breaks off from the immersion from the story you're trying to tell. Walking with Dinosaurs, Big Al, and all the other Walking with documentaries also have in-depth educational moments to explain the science and paleontology behind their documentaries. But those are in separate special episodes, so it doesn't break away from the immersion of the story they're trying to tell to the audience. Anyway, sorry for being a bit more critical for something that a lot of people, including myself, are excited for. The original Walking with Dinosaurs was a very influential and successful documentary at its time and is still remembered till this day. So of course expectations will be high. But I don't want to be critical about it for quality and budget reasons. I can still see this being a good dinosaur documentary, just not really as a successor to Walking with Dinosaurs. And as I've already explained, I don't think the issue is entirely because of the budget. Besides my criticisms, there's still plenty of reasons to be excited for it, like finally having a proper modern Utahraptor and Spinosaurus design in a modern documentary, or finally seeing other time periods again that isn't the Maastrichtian, and overall just having another big budget dinosaur documentary that isn't Prehistoric Planet. Also, I would like to know your thoughts about the upcoming documentary. What are your hopes and criticisms about it? And do you overall agree or disagree with me? Anyways, see y'all next time. Auf Wiedersehen.